welcome viewers to the 8th episode of Truth Manifested. Bol Bachchan se Satyavachan. We are talking about a topic less talked upon, a disease called schizophrenia. Here I have with me Dr. Suyash Sinha, a leading Neuro Psychiatrist in Jharkhand and Bihar. He happens to be the flag bearer of the Neuro Psychiatry of current generation. With experience of more than 10 years, he also happens to be an ex-assistant professor in DMIMS Medical College, Vartha. He has been a delegate speaker in several symposiums and conferences on mental health in Dublin, Madrid, Barcelona, London, and also in various forums of India. He has published a paper on violence in healthcare and has contributed in Global Mental Health Assessment Tool UK. And no, his achievements don't just end here. He has also been a member of the panel of 2 international drug trials organized by Quintiles USA and Japan. He has been the co-editor of the book Community Psychiatry in India, released at ANSIPS 2013, held in Nimhans, Bangalore. Presently, he is working keenly in the use of technologies in repetitive transcranial and augmented diagnosis and treatment of complicated neuropsychiatric illnesses. We also know that he's a fitness lover and really enjoys working out and believes that the path to happiness is a healthy body and mind. We're lucky to have you here, Dr. Singh.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Thank you for having me here.
Okay, so before moving on to our main question on how to remove taboos stimulated with schizophrenia, let us talk a little more about you. Why do you think, or why do you believe that psychiatry appealed to you while you were at the back of your mind, making you think that maybe it could affect your social reputation?
It was never a social taboo for me because I like to inform you and your viewers that even my father is a psychiatrist, so I am from a family of psychiatrists, so I knew how things are about, how things go about in this profession. So I think he was my source of inspiration, why I planned on choosing psychiatry as I pursued it in my post-graduation. And obviously the subject interests me a lot. It has always been a fascination to know more about the human mind and how it works, the various aspects of it. I think that was the real motivation why I decided on taking on psychiatry.
Okay, so in the spirits of awareness, can you tell us a little about what schizophrenia really is?
Schizophrenia is a mental disorder which generally affects 1% of the population, and it generally begins when a person is around 15 or 16 years of age. That it starts quite early. However, many a times it goes unnoticed because of the people are not aware of it, or sometimes they believe that the person is just behaving childish. He or she is not very sincere with his daily activities, and they just have a tendency to let it go. But what happens is, as you do not treat it quickly, it keeps on progressing till a point where it becomes very difficult to handle the patient, and then you will see the relatives are just tying up the patient somewhere, or 4 or 5 people holding a person, getting him or her to your clinic or the hospital, and just trying to get rid of him many a times. So it is a disease which affects the thought process, the way you think. It all gets distorted. Your thought process is not like a normal human being. You have a lot of hallucinations, you have delusions, you have a lot of magical thinking going on. You can hear sounds, you can have people, you feel as if someone is talking to you, commanding you, trying to control you. You can have feeling that people are conspiring against you, or they want to harm you. So these are few of the things which we do get to see in a schizophrenic patient. Along with all these symptoms, many a times what we do not notice is we find a lot of negative symptoms. Now, when I say negative symptoms where people are not working, they're not functioning, their auditory hallucinations or delusions may resolve after medication. But many a times what you see is the patient is unable to function properly. interact properly. They are quite withdrawn. They have a poor self-care. They do not bathe regularly. They don't take care of their hygiene or their appetite, or their self-care is completely gone. So these are the few of the things which you see in a patient of schizophrenia in general.
All right. So you talked about how when we don't diagnose this issue, it just makes it worse. How can you diagnose schizophrenia at an early stage?
The most important thing is you have to take care of the fact that schizophrenia generally has a genetic predisposition. When I say that, I mean if there is a person who has had schizophrenia in a family, if that person goes on to marry and has a child in future, we need to be careful to watch for symptoms, because generally it is genetically transmitted and it may or may not manifest. But we have a lot of screening tools which we can use to see if a person who is born of a schizophrenia patient is having such symptoms or not. We generally call them subtle or the soft neurological signs which each disease has. If we can identify such signs, we can definitely go for an early intervention in all such patients or relative of such patients. The other thing is, it is very important to be watchful and not be ignorant or arrogant about the symptoms which the patient might present to you with. Many times you might see people coming up to you, even for like other illnesses like depression, that they come up with the complaint that I don't feel like living, I don't feel good, I feel low all the time. And generally what we have a tendency to do, we just ask them ki, "Arey yaar, sab theek ho jayega," you know, don't worry, just go, just chill. But that is not the solution. You have to listen to their problem in totality, and only then, maybe if you are in a position to give them some guidance, fair enough. Else, you should direct them to a psychiatrist or a psychologist for a comprehensive review, and only then their diagnosis and treatment can be planned. Similarly, with schizophrenia, if you find someone who's started to, a boy who was very bright, very good in studies, very interactive, very playful, suddenly he has started to withdraw himself, he keeps muttering to himself, or his hygiene and self-care have reduced, his interaction has reduced. It's always important, if you get to see such signs, ask him to see a psychiatrist, especially if he has had some genetic predisposition in his family. So these are the things we need to take care of.
Okay, so if hypothetically a schizophrenic patient walks in to you for help along with his family members, what would you advise his family members? Because that also plays a very important role if you have family around you.
I think psychoeducation is very important for the family, because as you know, in our society, acceptance is a big factor. Taboo plays its role everywhere. So it's very important, first of all, to see the patient, diagnose whether he or she is having some such symptoms of schizophrenia which have to be treated, or can we just wait for some time. If at all the symptoms have to be treated, we will start with medications or other therapies that might be needed from time to time, and at the same time psychoeducate the parents or the relatives about the symptoms, their course, the prognosis, and what the outcome they can expect from it. If intervention is done then, or if the intervention they deny to take any medication or any kind of intervention, then what could be the outcome. Our job as a psychiatrist is to explain them both the things. If you start with medications, these are the things which will go down initially, and these are the symptoms that might persist and may take some more time to heal. At the same time, if you do not go for treatment, what could happen next in your patient? So to psychoeducate, it's very important to psychoeducate the patient, because that ensures proper treatment compliance and drug compliance. Many times we find that we prescribe some medicine, and the relatives feel that patient is not willing to take the medicine, so I won't give the medicine. Many times they have to be after them, because patient is not having insight. The relatives have to be after the patient for some time, for at least 2 to 3 months, at least till the time they gain that insight that yes, I am ill and I need to take some medicines to get well. So obviously it's very important to psychoeducate the patient, and only then we can treat the illness in totality.
That's quite right, sir. Another thing I'd like to ask you is that, we have seen at a large scale that harassment of patients with mental illness is very common. You can see that people calling them pagal hai ya mental hospital mein bhejo and many more things. What are your thoughts on it?
I think as a society, we all need to grow, we need to mature, we need to understand a simple phenomena that most of the bodily functions are controlled by the mind. And a vital organ like mind, which controls most of the bodily functions, it becomes very important that the organ itself has to be taken care of. We cannot just leave or undermine the symptoms which might be arising, you know. So it becomes very important that people start realizing that mental illness is a true illness. Many times people just say ki ye pagal hai, as you already said. That is, I think that is a punishable offense now, even in India. So it's very important to have like we have all the celebrities coming out and talking about it. You people are doing a wonderful job by promoting this event today. At least a few people will come to know that yes, such problems exist. So psychoeducation of masses is important, and it is important for people to realize it's a very simple thing. The way you can have a heart attack, you can have a kidney dysfunction, similarly you can have a mental dysfunction, and like all other illnesses, even this is treatable when proper intervention is done in the stipulated time.
Yes, I believe you already answered some of these points for the next question I was going to ask, but I'm just still going to put it out on the table. That is our main question for today. How can we as individuals and also as a community remove or stop taboos stimulated with schizophrenia?
I think most important thing is that the first step will be acceptance. As an individual or as a community, we have to accept that such problem exists and it needs to be addressed for proper treatment. That is the first thing we need to do. The second thing is when we identify all such people who are suffering from such schizophrenia like illness, we should be more empathetic towards them, if not sympathetic, at least empathetic, understand that plight, and make sure they get the correct treatment. All such people who have recovered from the illnesses, they can help around, in like just letting people know that they were suffering from this kind of an illness and they have improved after treatment. At the same time, we have to take care of a lot of um, spiritual or other forms of therapies which people believe in. Few people might come up to you and say ki isko bhoot sawar ho gaya hai, we need to take him to a baba or something. So we can completely understand that, like you can have a aspect related to your religion or your beliefs. We don't want to disturb it, but we have to make sure that people understand that it is important to address a problem scientifically as well. And if people go to a doctor or see a doctor or see a psychiatrist, they shouldn't be labeled. First of all, I think the day we are able to remove this taboo that if you see a psychiatrist you are pagal, I think that day we'll win half the battle.
Very rightly said, sir. So, lastly, I'd like to ask you, how does it feel to be so respected, and how does it feel to have such a huge impact on the lives of so many people?
Honestly, that's my job, and I love doing my job. I think I'm just a very small person trying to contribute my bit into this, and hopefully we are working towards elimination of the taboos also. We're trying to psychoeducate the masses. We do a lot of camps where we tell people that what is right and what is wrong related to mental health, the beliefs, the notions that are right, and believe the notions which are not right. So that's all what I'm trying to do at my level, and I expect with people like you who are so oriented or aware and want to let people know about all this, you're doing a wonderful job. I think we can do all this frequently and let people know that these are actually illnesses and we can help people out.
Thank you so much, sir, and that's really impressive. I'd like to salute you for the work you're doing, and thank you for sparing your valuable time with us here
Thank you
today.
so much. It was wonderful having of all of you to have me here. Thank you so much.